Hello and welcome back to the Overwatch Open. It is semi-final and grand final day, and this of course is the Overwatch Open, a show where anybody and everyone can compete for an opportunity to compete for, well, $300,000 and a spot on American television in the ELEAGUE arena in Atlanta. That's the grand prize. Of course, it is a long road of many games of Overwatch from there to here. First, some introductions though. I am Alex Machine Richardson. I'm joined by Josh and Jurasar to start things off. Gentlemen, how you doing? You're into the semi-finals and grand finals. You've seen what's coming up. You feeling good about today, especially for Europe?
Oh, of course. We've got four incredibly strong teams, all trying to make a name for themselves as the top team in Europe. Obviously, Misfits qualified first in that first qualifier. Now's a chance for another team to basically show that they've got the goods.
Yeah. You think there's a clear favourite, John, for to join Misfits today?
I think there's a significantly less clear favourite.
Oh, okay.
I'm personally leaning a little bit towards Reunited, but I feel like the floor is a lot more open, and I really like the format as well because it means a team qualifies and you're sort of taking a look at who is actually tackling like what remains and who can actually go forward next. It's great.
I'm glad you mentioned the format because that's what I'm going to go ahead and throw on your faces right now for you guys at home. This is how it does break down. It is an open bracket and you can see how it does play down. Of course, I think I had 118 teams signed up for our second week here where you can go ahead and join. You and 5 friends can compete in some competitive Overwatch, working your way, navigating through the best teams in your region. Of course, Europe and North America. We start with Europe, and the grand prize, as I mentioned before, is the ELEAGUE arena. We get to see now how things do stand on the leaderboard. Currently, we mentioned Misfits. There they are. They are already qualified. They're locked in and will not be present within the next 2 weeks of play. Misfits will be joined by 3 more, but we can see that the other teams that are not going to be locked in from the grand finals pick up points. Anox picked up the grand final spot, however, unable to convert it into a win, 22 points, and you can see the likes of Rogue, Creation, 2STRONK, they picked up points as well. And this is how they're going to be battling today. This is how they got here as well. 2STRONK managing to walk through Reunited, a team that we kind of said already were a bit intermittent in their performances. You can see Reunited have a much easier affair versus Bringos. On the other side of the bracket, we mentioned Creation. They did walk through SG. And Anox, previous grand finalists, fall flat foul in the quarterfinals to Rogue. That was a bit of a rematch between the two. And just which way do these guys get played? First, we start with Reunited 2STRONK, and following that, we get our Creation Rogue. Now, I know a lot of the guys on the desk and backstage are incredibly excited for Creation versus Rogue. I think I'm going to have to ask you, John, why exactly is it that everyone's hyped for our second semi-final?
Well, Creation and Rogue are 2 teams that have a really strong history behind them. There were periods earlier on in the game and in the beta where Rogue was undoubtedly the best team in Europe, but they maybe weren't necessarily as dominant as, say, the Envies of North America, or even like Reunited. IDDQD is the prime example in Europe. But they have always been there or thereabouts. They won TakeOver, the very first Overwatch LAN after the game was released, and Creation Esports have always been there pushing them all the way. Creation haven't necessarily reached the heights of some of the teams that have been, winning a lot of championships so far, but it is very early days, and they've always been basically top 4 or thereabouts.
If they've always been there, does that mean there's some parallels to perhaps Anox? I mean, we said this, I feel like you were describing them very similarly when we were talking about them last week. Of course, this is the team that got to the grand finals, beat Reunited, beat Rogue. Like, they beat big European giants, which you suggested was something that they had been struggling to do in the past. Is there some parallels there, John?
I think there could be some parallels if we were having this conversation maybe in a couple of weeks' time. I feel like Anox are now starting to get there, but we now need to see them get there and become consistent. And I think one thing a lot of people can say about Creation Esports is that in terms of their results and in terms of just them going out and delivering what they do best, they have been rather consistent, and they don't yo-yo like some of the other European teams.
Now, Josh, we haven't heard too much from you. You have a great pleasure of walking us through this map pool because it looks like we're going to be seeing some unfamiliar map faces. We haven't seen these guys crop up too much, at least Numbani.
That's right. Numbani, I don't think I got to cast a single time yesterday, but Gibraltar and Nepal, we did see a couple times each yesterday. Basically, we've got 2 payload maps, 1 King of the Hill map in store for Reunited versus 2STRONK. Some teams obviously excel at various modes. Some might be better at payload or better at King of the Hill. I'm not sure which is going to be which here for Reunited versus 2STRONK, though. They're going to have to show us what they got.
So let's run with Gibraltar as a discussion topic for just a moment. Now, it's been talked about a little bit. I asked about favorite maps, and Gibraltar cropped up there in that discussion. And one of the points that was made, I think it could very well have been ZP. He suggested that it's really interesting to see this kind of dark or like it's very hot or cold in the hangar area. You either have a very quick hangar phase, or people just get locked in and stopped. Like they can't seem to break through. Could you perhaps outline why there's such a kind of disparity between teams that can break through and teams that can't?
Sure. So it actually really matters it almost entirely hinges on how quickly the first checkpoint is taken to actually open the hangar doors. If it's a brutal mess, let's say the entire defense gets wiped, and then the offense pushes for like 5-6 seconds, eventually reaches the checkpoint, then the defense has enough time to actually return all the way back into the hangar, take a high ground position on top of the shuttle, and good Widowmakers, soldiers, McCrees can all just shoot down at the 4 very narrow entrances into the shuttle room. So if they have time to set up, it can be a real deadlock. If they don't have time to set up, let's say it's a trickle-in sort of thing where the defense just doesn't have time, that's going to give the offensive Genjis and Tracers and what have you a chance to rush in and block the doors basically for defenders trying to return to the room. So
I see. So as an attacker,
it's a little snowbally.
So yeah, okay. Yeah. So as an attacker, you find success if you get you have some aggressors, some talented Genji, some talented Tracers up in the defense's kind of face.
Right.
I was about to say up in their grill, but I'm not G enough, I don't think, for that.
Yeah, basically, it's just a matter of if you have the Graviton Surge combo that kills everyone, or if you can kind of take them out piece by piece, and it might even be a little better to slow down your attack reaching that checkpoint just so you have a little bit of time moving into the hangar to stop the defense from setting up.
John, would you describe Gibraltar as unique in the fact that we just forego the first point as a defender? Like, I don't think, is there another map that we do that?
I wouldn't say there's another map where we forego the first point. There are plenty of maps where teams don't necessarily defend as far forward as they would like. Look at Dorado moving back to the archway to make sure, you're just minimizing the time it takes between a teammate's death and being able to rejoin the battle. On Gibraltar, it's particularly pronounced, and there just happens to be a checkpoint at the bottom of that little ramp. I don't think that necessarily makes it super unique. I think we see that feature on a lot of maps. It's just on Gibraltar, it's exaggerated a little bit.
Yeah, and I'll actually add a little bit to that. Gibraltar, before it was in beta, there was no checkpoint there. In that area is called Car Wash because the Blizzard devs called it that at BlizzCon. There was no checkpoint there, and the first checkpoint was actually really, really hard to hit. So teams were having
a little bit of a fail-safe.
Yeah, teams were struggling with Bastions and Torbs and Widows being as strong as they were back then. They're really struggling to hit that first checkpoint at all. So Blizzard actually added that 2-minute checkpoint right in the beginning of the map, and now professional teams, they ignore it because it doesn't affect the spawns, and the spawns are really what matters so much to them.
Understood. Okay, well, the map is Gibraltar. We've talked all about it. Now you get to see it played. It is our first semi-final. The winner of this secures a spot in the grand final and 22 points to their name, closer to the playoffs. For now, though, your casters are ready. It's none other than John and Josh. You guys sound nice together. John, Josh. Josh, John, Josh. Ask Joshy. Ask Johnny.
Oh, well, thank you.
See you later.
Thank you
Alex.
very much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we are here on Gibraltar. This is the first game of the day. Incredibly exciting match. And Joshy, we have your favorite map to boot. Everything's going swell.
Yeah, it looks good, and I'm actually a little surprised to see the defense already setting up with a Roadhog, Harblue being the only player that really sticks to it. Enigma brings him out from time to time, but in EU, I'm not actually so familiar with 2STRONK. Buhor does play a fair bit of Roadhog, but I typically see him on Zarya.
True, yeah, he's very good on Zarya.
Some great Zarya play there, but as we get started here, we can see Reunited out of the gate here with Kib on the Genji, unfixed on the Reaper. So a little bit of verticality, but actually seems to be pretty ground-based with Valutaja, Mort, and Cruz all going to be mostly on the ground for this.
And 2STRONK. Oh, Madison getting a very early hook onto Kib, so unfortunately Genji won't be able to get those kills in. Zany trying to move in, looking for an early pickoff of his own. Won't be able to get one so far, though. And, well, I guess that's one of the reasons Maniton's kind of hanging around on Roadhog off to the side, looking for those kind of picks. Zabe will be playing Zenyatta. Ruster, unfortunately, goes down early on Winston, and Icefelt, as we expected, will be playing McCree.
Yeah, Icefelt's McCree did a great job yesterday. Sini up in the face of Winghaven actually takes him out pretty quickly. Winghaven, of course, being one of the best Reinhardt players around, actually playing Winston this time around, and just for the offense, just to be able to leap up onto high ground and stuff like that and take out any ranged threats. But here you see Maniton getting the nice sweet spot kill on Cruz after following a kill on Unfixed. So everything looking good for the defense. They have lost a person here or there, but it was never a bad exchange for them.
Yeah, a couple of trades here and there, but otherwise nothing particularly to write home about. Sini now, again, looking for some early damage. Won't really be able to connect with anything just yet. Notice the position, by the way, of Ruster putting down the bubble just there. That also disrupts any players like McCree that want to be able to shoot people on the other side. It's really annoying if the bubble's in the way. So it's just nice peace of mind for the rest of defense. And now Valutaja coming up with the initial Deadeye and right into the face of a deflecting Genji. He is going to wisely back up.
Yeah, I think he's got to feel bad about that usage just because he did see 3 people, but they all saw him. There was no way he was actually going to be able to land anything. Valutaja now getting on the low ground, though, running right through everyone. That's 3 limbs just for himself there. of course, getting the assist from the rest of his team, and defense just did not have time to set up. So this is exactly what we're talking about with Alex. They were able to basically wipe them 1, 2, 3 in a row instead of all at once. Defense did not have any time to actually set up on top of the shuttle. You can see Reaper being played by Unfix all the way up on top of the shuttle already.
Exactly.
Kib as Genji has his Dragon Blade available, so defense really needs to be careful, and you can see them being careful here with Mineral and the rest of the squad waiting until they have basically everyone ready to go.
Yeah, and Unfixed was the very first person up onto the shuttle as well. He didn't waste any time, immediate teleport up there. He knows that the verticality even on Reaper, extremely useful in this part of the map. If he hunts and is able to drop down, it's going to be excellent. Now Sini's coming in with the Dragon Blade, looking for Valutaja, finds Valutaja, in fact getting just before we managed to get some Zenyatta useful healing on him, so that's going to be frustrating for Reunited, but they're staying the rest of them together. There's still 5 of them online. Manatin has gone down as well, and he's actually switched over to D.Va.
Yeah, switching to D.Va totally makes sense for this room, as the shuttle and even inside the shuttle can be kind of a pain in the butt for some tanks to reach, but D.Va acting as a flying Reinhardt these days, it totally makes sense to make that switch. So Icefelt, looks like the defense did actually clean up pretty well there, despite the offense having a few ultimates. They do have even more saved up now. Unfixed with that Death Blossom is going to have a tough time getting on top of the shuttle, because obviously Reaper's teleport takes some time.
Yeah.
No one's going to let him do that, right? He's not going to be able to get the drop on anyone. So as the offense moves in here, you see the speed boost, tanks sitting on the cart as you'd expect. Icefelt can drop behind everyone, but D.Va is there to help him out. They try to take out the Reaper. It looks like Wraithwalk actually saved his life, and Kid and Valutaja are just combining for tons of kills. Dragon Blade out, kills Sini as well, and everything is looking good for Reunited now.
So Joshy, I think what I would argue what happened there, maybe Reunited still had a lot of ultimates available, even though they got pushed back a little bit. They decided it wasn't the time to use them all, and I think they had something like a 4v2 or 5v2 ult advantage going in to that as well. So maybe 2STRONK weren't 100% expecting that, and when they collapsed onto Reunited, they had a little bit of an unpleasant surprise there, would you say?
Yeah, I think so. Maybe it didn't work out the way that they were hoping, jumping down from the shuttle, and it's just a matter of the Dragon Blade actually just dishing out tons of damage. Valutaja, of course, a very accurate McCree. We saw a couple of kills out of him as well. Icefelt does have his Deadeye now available on defense. Typically, you're going to see defense play the corner as you see all those blue silhouettes. They don't want to provide any direct sight lines to the attackers who have to come out of that hangar. So Icefelt is going to pop the Deadeye, looking for some red skulls, not actually going to be able to find anything, but as we know, it's a great zoning ultimate. He pulls the trigger anyway to break that Reinhardt shield, and Reinhardt does fall immediately, so still a decent use, and of course, a good McCree is going to build that ult up pretty quickly anyway.
Yeah, it also gives 2STRONK a nice position to potentially set up and just make sure Reunited have to spend extra time getting their forces together before they actually come back out of the hangar there. So it just buys them a little bit of breathing room. Kib, though, trying to deny them that with Genji, just popping forward, seeing if he can get a pick off. He won't be able to on this occasion. And both teams are sitting back. 5 minutes and 7 seconds left to complete this final point on Reunited's attack phase.
Interesting, we've got 3 ults available, and the team on defense, 2STRONK, is actually, you know, they've vacated the corner as a couple of ultimates come out. Ruster popping that Winston Rage, getting up in the face of the defense. That is going to stall for some time. We still have the very aggressive ult out of Sini. Whenever he does choose to use that Dragon Blade, he's going to be hopping all over the place. So really just saving that for the perfect moment. More, I want to say Sini's going to use his Dragon Blade at an opportune time rather than, here we go, yeah. So as everyone pushes in, Transcendence gets popped immediately. That really feels bad as a Genji these days because it can be tough to get in there. But he still collects 2 kills, 3 kills, now a 4th if Mort does go down. Great Dragon Blade also. The entire team basically went down except for Winghaven, and as he's on his own now, Reinhardt does not stand up well by himself.
I see your Transcendence. I'm going to move away and pick everyone else up that isn't close to you, and that was fantastically played by Sini there. You mentioned he was looking for the opportune moment, and despite the Transcendence, managing to find everyone. He knew that Reunited weren't all bunched up, so he simply changed direction, changed tack. I perhaps wasn't expecting a 5k off of that, but it was just very, very well done.
Yeah, the Elims, I mean, obviously they weren't solo kills, but just dishing out the damage to whoever's not in Transcendence really helped them out. Kib does have the Dragon Blade out now for the side of a Reunited, getting a kill on Mineral, and it looks like Zave is down as well, so no supports available for the defense right now. This is Reunited's best chance to cover a lot of ground. I think we're going to see one of those huge contesting moments maybe here at the end, but the fact that Kib is able to get up in the doorway like this and start deflecting means that Reunited has a lot of time. It's actually really difficult to use that other exit. You see the other exit on the far left. No one really uses it because it takes a lot of time to run over there, and a lot of characters have dashes and flying abilities and stuff like that to get out of the gate as fast as they can. Kib actually went off the side. We saw Genji fall just briefly there. He did not have his dash. Yeah,
the dot in chat.
I don't know if you can see it on the cast, but Kib did just type ... Manatan as a tracer now is, of course, a good choice for the defense, but he's not there to continue contesting. He only had 70 health or something like that anyway.
Yeah, he
you
had
see
to
that
pull
he
back.
dies anyway. So really good time set by Reunited overall. I think the shuttle room went very well for them, and obviously just the end, like the fact that Kib was able to get up in the defense's face
Now,
and prevent them from flooding the cart.
I guess it's worth mentioning that even though they were able to set up very quickly in the shuttle room, they did get pushed back and team wiped once. But having that ultimate advantage for the re-engage really helped Reunited there, and it meant they didn't get stuck in a rut being wiped 3 or 4 times. And you know how you see sometimes shuttle room can be like 4 or 5 minutes of stodgy, slow pushing. They avoided that altogether simply by keeping their ultimates in one place. So that was really well played. They're now going to be trying to prevent 2STRONK from doing the same.
Yeah, 2STRONK obviously got a good look at how Reunited is playing right now. They've kind of identified the threats. I know sometimes when you come into a match, you've got an idea of who you're going to be watching out for. So Reunited, I think, Winghaven's typically on that Reinhardt, so they would, have to think of ways to deal with him. Kib is typically on the Genji, so of course a Winston on the other side actually makes sense to try and zap him down. But right now it looks like we've got a very similar setup out of 2STRONK for their attack, starting with Reinhardt rather than the Winston, though. They're very ground-based here with the Roadhog Reinhardt tank combo. We'll see if they stick with that. They do still have 30 seconds to switch it up. But Reunited on defense, looks like everyone's just sticking with their best characters. Exactly right, yeah.
Absolutely no surprise to see Morte on Zenyatta, Winghaven on Winston. I guess Winston/Reinhardt, you'd expect to see him there. Unfixed on Reaper, Kib on Genji, like we mentioned, and Valutaja. I don't remember the last time we saw him for a prolonged period of time, not on McCree. And Cruz, of course, rounding out the composition with his beloved Lucio. I think he's great.
Valutaja for a short time would pull out a Soldier, does pull out Tracer still on King of the Hill from time to
Yeah,
time,
sometimes.
which you'd expect because McCree's just a little bit less mobile than that Tracer. Actually, a lot less mobile than the Tracer, to be fair.
Tracer's pretty quick, man.
Yeah, she can. She has a lot of escapes. McCree, if he whiffs the flashbang or doesn't get the kill, he's basically dead. So time to beat, just over 6 minutes 40 seconds. We'll see how 2STRONK does here at the beginning. Probably going to be reaching this first checkpoint without too much contention, but really paying attention to Sini here to see what route he's going to take to try and deal with this entrenched defense.
We're still using Manhattan on Roadhog, by the way, looking for those early picks, seeing Reunited sort of poking their heads up to try and maybe get a little bit of upside dominance there, and you can see him just exploring with the hit going, is anybody actually up there trying to get an early pick because I will be able to cover you first. Reunited now, well, coming back down, but Winghaven getting his head knocked clean off his shoulders there. It's currently 5v4 in favor of Reunited, to be fair, and they're continuing to move on in. Great flashbang, but unable to follow it up from Icebell.
Yeah, doesn't get the headshot kill on Genji and pays the price as Kib just dashes through him for that final damage. Under 6 minutes now. Looks like we're regrouping. Have there been any changes? Doesn't look like it on the side of the attackers, so they're going to continue with this ground force of Reinhardt and Roadhog. They could still, of course, just go up the stairs and take a fight up there if they want to, but it seems like with this much HP on the cart, that is definitely the tactic they're looking for.
I feel like Manhattan hasn't been getting the hooks that he's been looking for yet. No one's really been sort of sticking their head up above the parapet to be able to get that down. So we'll see how he's able to make that effective a little bit later on. Trying another one. They're actually nearly getting Kib, but not quite. And we've got Reaper just up there waiting to get some damage done. Unfixed, being very patient. They're moving into the server room now, and here comes Kib with the Dragon Blade. He doesn't want to wait, but Ruster has other ideas.
Yeah, Kib walks into that brick wall of Reinhardt, ends up getting flattened. Manhattan finally popping his Whole Hog ultimate. Does get the kill on Winghaven, so we're missing a couple members on both sides, but the offense does appear to have the advantage as well as a couple of ultimates. Sini's Dragon Blade could, of course, change the tide of battle completely. Deadeye coming out from Valutaja. Will he find any skulls to shoot at? Doesn't look like it, as Unfixed actually killed the entire enemy team during the Deadeye. So,
he's like, come on, man.
Yeah, kudos Unfixed for the nice Death Blossom. Valutaja gets to refund himself for about 50% there and potentially have Deadeye for the next push.
Yeah, and that's always useful as well. I mean, 50%. McCree's ultimate also charges quite quickly, so it's just really useful to be able to have that
hitting headshots
available.
charges it super fast.
Exactly. So Valutaja will get that back in no time, as I'm sure. Now, 2STRONK back in the server room this time, not going into the car wash. They're going to try and move this in straight from the side. They've also got the payload as cover from here as well, but they're actually going all the way to the first floor. They want the vertical advantage here. Let's see if they can make it count. Very difficult for Reunited to move up and spot exactly what's going where. Saini.
Wow, he got the McCree ran. He sprinted away. He must have got the Lucio speed boost.
That
at
was
perfect
quick.
time. Yeah, but he still ends up dying. That's okay though, because only 1 kill for a Dragon Blade is actually not that great.
He spent that entire time just running after one person, right? Yeah, so very, very nicely played there. And Sini and Manitin getting a kill each. Reunited at the moment, trickle deaths. And Cruz, with that Discord on him, does manage to run for a little while, but unfortunately won't be able to escape in the long run. Kib trying his best to take someone down with him, but won't be able to. And those deaths from Reunited were really staggered. Is this going to give 2STRONK a very good opportunity to set up their ideal shuttle phase?
Not really. Zen actually just totally caught out of position. He respawned before the checkpoint was hit, so he was downstairs. As soon as he showed his face, Manitin got the hook kill. So that can happen as well. That's another part of this shuttle room and being so tricky is the staggered spawns can really mess you up like that. And obviously, we had plenty of time now for Sini and Sini and Icefelt to move forward into the hangar room and wait for these people to come through the door. You can see they actually took the low ground entrance this time, so Sini was not able to get anything. Nice Earth Shatter there lays several members flat. Sini, Manitin both combining for a couple of kills there. Whole Hog Ultimate going off on the cart while Sini pulls that Dragon Blade out. Actually, no, he didn't even have to use the Dragon Blade. He's about to get a new one.
Yeah, he hasn't. He's completely fine at the moment. This is absolutely brilliant coming out from 2STRONK here. 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining, and they are about to complete this phase. Do we have a last second hold here? Well, it looks like we're going to be trying to contest. Cruz, though, isn't going to last long on top of that payload, and we are moving on to the final point. Manitin gets a hook, but he doesn't have enough hit points left to complete the job.
Sometimes that Reaper gets a shot off before you do, and you just die. If you hook a Reaper in and he happens to land the nice headshot, it can actually flatten.
Reap.
Yeah, you can reap, rest in reap pieces.
Yeah, man.
But we've got Icefelt actually doing a lot of damage again. We saw in the kill feed, haven't been spectating him too much, but he's definitely doing his job. Valuetaja has the Deadeye now on the side of the defense. This is not a great spot for it. There's a lot of places for the attackers to flee, so he's going to be waiting for that perfect moment, maybe even for the CC setup. But here comes the Deadeye actually as the offensive run forward. Great kill on Sini, who just pulled out the Dragon Blade. Excellent denial there. Going to cost him that whole ultimate. Now rushing forward as the damage dealers are down. Unfixed doing his job as well, taking out those supports.
That was very important from Valuetaja. That could have been the start of a big engagement from 2STRONK actually coming in on Reunited, and with one swift movement, Valuetaja was able to turn that entire thing around. You can see 2STRONK moving back into the shuttle phase going, hang on a second, we need to reset here and try that again. So let's do that. We've got Lucio coming in with the sound barrier to start things off. Sini looking for targets, hasn't quite been able to find them so far. Icefelt going down, and Sini actually, before he's able to get those kills off, goes down as well, and now we have the defensive Transcendence. But that is countered by a later offensive one. It doesn't matter, though, because Zenyatta is down.
Yeah, chop, chop, chop goes the Kib as he takes out both supports there. That's excellent stuff for the defense. Now as he returns to the cart, he gets another kill onto that Reinhardt from behind. Valuetaja has switched off now onto that Tracer. This is one of those moments where the McCree is just not as good because Tracer can return to the fight so quickly if she does go down and has a chance to contest longer. So with only 50 seconds to go, Reunited really only have to hang on for 1, possibly 2 more engagements.
Yeah, and like you said, that's exactly the kind of situation where Valuetaja just goes ahead and moves off.
Sini also switched here to Tracer.
Valuetaja pulse bomb plays of the game, something that we are actually quite used to as well. Not 100% certain we'll be seeing one here, but at the moment they just need to hold out for slightly longer. Once it gets down to about 15 seconds, it then becomes mathematically impossible, even if the whole of Reunited move off of the payload. And at the moment, 2STRONK just can't get a word in edgeways at the moment. Sini's still dead as well, and I think this is going to be it.
Yeah, I think so, just because overtime, keep in mind, does not matter when you've got this time to beat. Even if the clock was down to contesting or something like that, it does not matter. 6 seconds to go. Looks like Reunited will hang on here. There's excellent kills here from Kib just to finish things off. And you can see, well, maybe you can't see, I'm not sure, but GGs are coming out from the players, so that is going to be it for Gibraltar.
All right. And I think that map on the whole, Joshy, we need to talk a little bit about the hangar phase, because I feel like both teams had an element of being able to push on through. When Reunited were pushing, they did get they got held back once, but after the shuttle was most of the way through, and they had the ultimate advantage, and they made it work. When 2STRONK pushed in, it was very, very quick as well, but it wasn't like they had 5 ultimates versus 2 or something. So what went so right for 2STRONK there that allowed them to get a time advantage, even though they ultimately lost?
Honestly, that staggered Zenyatta respawn, where Zenyatta was all alone in the world in the hangar because he died just a little too early, essentially, is what happened. And as he spawned underground, Zenyatta has no way to get up to the shuttle, no way to escape that onslaught, so he basically just poked his head out and died immediately. That's, not only is your healer removed for the group respawn, it's removed even longer as he dies a second time in that push. So missing that support, honestly, is basically all it took. And Sini, of course, and Icefelt, both being great DPS players, are going to be watching those doors. So Shuttle, no problem at all. It was actually that last stretch, the last dogleg left, that they just could not make happen.
And then I guess a final question for you. Taking a look at Reunited on the last stretch, they obviously felt a lot more comfortable in defense than 2STRONK did. Both teams really pushing very hard. Was there a magic bullet that you say that Reunited sort of really got them over the line? Because both sides had good DPS.
Funny that you say a magic bullet, because yes, Valutaja's one Deadeye bullet into Sini's face right after he pulled out the Dragon Blade actually could have totally changed the entire course of the game. So there was Valutaja's magic bullet in that case. But we are going to cut to a short break now. When we come back, Nepal, the King of the Hill map, will be our second game.